got questions. We've got answers. We have the man who will answer them, Jeffrey Levine from Buckingham Wealth Partners. Jeffrey, welcome back to another episode of Ask the Hammer.
It is great to be with you as always, Bob.
It's great to be with you too, Jeffrey. I've got a question from a reader who's wondering whether it's possible to make a mistake when they're going to claim Social Security.
Well, the answer is absolutely yes. It's possible that you can make a mistake. The challenge is it's really impossible to know whether you've made a mistake until we know when you and or your spouse is potentially is going to die, right? Like when people walk into my office and they say, tell me when to claim Social Security, I tell them, I will tell you the exact day to claim Social Security if you tell me the exact day that you and your spouse will die. That's my deal. Now, other than that, then we get into a situation where it's a matter of probabilities. And what I would say is, with respect to Social Security claiming, there are far too many people who claim early. There are more people claim early than should. Now, there are obviously some people who wait too long to take it as well, but certainly I think more people claim early than should, and that's where we overweight the decision. People are prisoner of the moment. They say, well, what if I die too soon? And candidly, I look at that and say, well, if you die too soon, congratulations, you didn't run out of money, right? Like you're okay. You didn't. The issue is you don't want to run out of money before you run out of life, and delaying Social Security is one of the best ways to do that.
Mm-hmm. So a couple of thoughts. One is, we know that longevity is increasing. There are some exceptions given what's happened with COVID, but in general, longevity is increasing. So the probability of someone, your spouse, living a long life is greatly increased, and thus perhaps the need to delay claiming Social Security to get the maximum benefit for you and for your surviving spouse is even greater.
Yeah, I mean, Social Security, the idea of claiming at 62 versus claiming at 70 was meant to be actuarially equivalent, meaning like it wouldn't matter to the Social Security Administration when you claimed it. That's how they arrived at kind of those wacky formulas of, all right, you'll get 5% less if you claim it early, but then if you wait past your full retirement age, you're going to get 8%. Like all that was meant to be equal in Social Security's eyes. But the reality, as you point out, is that people are living longer. Those amounts were based off of old life expectancy tables. And so you're kind of at an advantage already. Plus, if you are married, it's important to note that the higher of those two Social Security checks lives on with the survivor, effectively, quote unquote, for free, right? Because there's nothing else you have to do, nothing special. It just goes to the higher check. If the higher earner survives, they keep their own check and the deceased spouse's check goes away. If the lower earning spouse continues to or survives, then their own check goes away. They step into a survivor benefit effectively equal to the deceased individual's benefit. So either way, that benefit lives on, which is why when we're looking at married couples in particular, the ability to delay the higher earner is even more important. A lot of times when people say like, well, what should I do if we want to get some, if you want like a taste of Social Security, do it oftentimes with the lower earner, because the only way it makes sense for that higher earner to claim early typically is when you have death of both spouses early. If either one lives long enough, then that decision to delay by the higher earner will pay off.
Right. So I'll play devil's advocate for a second. I've talked to some people that say, well, whether you claim at 66 or 67 or 68, in terms of monthly dollar amounts, it's almost nominal, perhaps in some cases, and that we're making people, delay claiming for, in some cases, no good reason. Any thoughts about that when I talk to these devil's advocates?
Yeah, I mean, going from 1 month to the next month may not show up as a big change, but when you look at the difference between claiming at 62 versus claiming at, let's say, 70, it's a dramatic difference, right? It could be, nearly twice as much depending upon what cost of living adjustments are, et cetera. And the impact of claiming early versus claiming late is magnified the longer you live, right? Because if you think about it this way, let's say you're getting $10,000 a year in Social Security benefits, and I waited a little bit longer and I'm getting $20,000. And Social Security comes out and they say, everybody gets 10% more next year. We all get the same percentage, but you only get $1,000 more. I get $2,000 more. And then the next year, when there's another cost of living adjustment, mine is on my 22,000, yours is on your 11. And so it continues to drive and really create a bigger wedge between those two amounts over time. So there is, and again, that's why it goes back to, particularly for surviving, like married couples, that higher earners check is the critical. Now for single individuals, it's much more about how long will you individually live. But most people, if you ask them, their primary fear is, I don't want to run out of money. And so while yes, it's possible that you could claim too late and die too early, if that's the case, you probably didn't run out of money, and that was your number one concern.
All right, well, make no mistake about it. You answered that reader's question and then some.
Well, we appreciate it, and don't delay. Send your questions to us early. That's one thing you should do. And to do that, just give us a shout. Email us at askthehammer@buckinghamgroup.com. Again, that's askthehammer@buckinghamgroup.com. And Bob and I look forward to answering your questions real soon.